Omsairam, Sai Satcharitra Chapter 10. Topics: Sai Baba's mode of life, Baba's wonderful bed, his stay in Shirdi, Sai Baba as a Sadguru, his teachings, his humility, the easiest path. Remember him, Sai Baba, always with love, for he was engrossed in everyone's welfare and was always immersed in his self. To remember him is to solve the riddle of life and death. This is the best and easiest of sadhanas as it involves no expenditure. A little exertion here brings great rewards. So, as long as our senses are sound, we should every minute of our lives practice the sadhana. Everything else is illusory, and the Guru is God. If we believe in the Sadguru's holy feet, he can change a fortune for the better. If we serve him well, we get rid of our samsara. We need not study any philosophy like the Nyaya and Mimamsa if we make him our helpsman. He can easily help us cross the sea of all our pain and sorrows. Just as we trust the helmsman in crossing rivers and seas, we have to trust our Sadguru in getting over the ocean of worldly existence. The Sadguru looks at the intense feelings and devotion of his devotees and endows them with knowledge and eternal bliss. In the last chapter, Baba's mendicancy, devotees' experiences, and other subjects were dealt with. Let the readers now hear where and how Baba lived, how he slept, and what he taught. Baba's wonderful bed. Let us first see where and how Baba slept. Mr. Nana Sahib Dengale bought Sai Baba a wooden plank 6 feet in length and only 3/4 of a foot in breadth. Instead of putting the plank on the floor and sleeping on it, Baba tied it like a swing to the rafters of the masjid with old rags and commenced to sleep upon it. The rags were so thin and worn out that it was a miracle that they could bear even the weight of the plank itself, let alone the weight of Baba. But somehow or the other, it was Baba's sheer leela that the worn out rags sustained the plank with the weight of Baba on it. At each of the 4 corners of this plank, Baba lighted panatis. Panatis are the small earthen lamps, and kept them burning the whole night. It was sight for the gods to see Baba sitting or sleeping on the plank. It was a wonder to all. How Baba got on and off the plank. Out of curiosity, many careful observers kept watching the process of mounting and dismounting, but none succeeded in figuring it out. As crowds began to gather to watch this wonderful feat, Baba one day broke the plank into pieces and threw it away. Baba had all the 8 siddhis or the powers at his command. He never practiced or craved for them. They came to him naturally as a result of his perfection. Sagun manifestation of Brahman. Though Sai Baba looked like a man, 5 feet 3 inches in height, he dwelt in everyone's heart. Inwardly, he was unattached and indifferent, but outwardly, he longed for public welfare. While inwardly very disinterested, he looked full of desires on the outside, while inwardly an abode of peace. He looked restless on the outside. On the inside, he had the state of Brahman, while outwardly he acted like the devil. Inwardly, he loved Advaita, while outwardly he got entangled with the world. Sometimes he looked upon everyone with affection, and at times he threw stones at them. Sometimes he scolded them, while at sometimes he embraced them and was calm, composed, and tolerant, and well balanced. He was always engrossed in the self and was well disposed towards his devotees. He always sat on one asan and never travelled. His satka was a small stick, and he always carried this in his hand. He was calm and thought free. He never cared for wealth or fame and lived by begging. This was the life he led. He always said the words, God is the real owner. Entire and unbroken was his love for his devotees. He was the mind warehouse of knowledge of the self and was full of divine bliss. Such was the divine form of Sai Baba, boundless, endless, and undifferentiated. The principle which envelops the whole universe, from a stone pillar to Brahma, incarnated in Sai Baba. People who were very fortunate got this treasure trove in their hands, while those people who did not know the real worth of Sai Baba took him to be a mere human being and continued to remain miserable. His stay in Shirdi and probable date of birth. No one knew of Baba's parents and his date of birth, but it can be determined approximately by his stay in Shirdi. Baba first came to Shirdi when he was about 16 years old and stayed here for 3 years. Then all of a sudden he disappeared for some time. He reappeared after some time in the Nizam state near Aurangabad and again came to Shirdi with the marriage party of Chand Patil when he was about 20 years old. Since then, he lived in Shirdi for a period of 60 years, after which Baba took his Maha Samadhi in the year 1980. From this, we can say that the year of Baba's birth is approximately 1838 AD. Baba's mission and advice. Saint Ramdas, who lived from 1608 to 1681, flourished in the 17th century and fulfilled to a great extent his mission of unity and harmony between religions. But within 2 centuries after him, the split between the two communities, the Hindus and the Muslims, widened again, and Sai Baba came to bridge the gulf. His constant advice to everyone was to this effect: Rama, the god of Hindus, and Rahim, the god of Muslims, were one and the same, and there was not the slightest difference between them. Then why should their devotees quarrel? You ignorant folk should join hands and bring both communities together. Act sanely, and thus you will gain your object of unity. It is not good to dispute and argue, so don't argue and don't emulate others. The Lord will protect you. Yoga, sacrifice, penance, and knowledge are the means to attain God. If you do not succeed in this by any means, vain is your birth. If anyone does any evil unto you, do not retaliate. If you can do anything, do some good unto others. This, in short, was Sai Baba's advice to everyone, and this will stand you in good stead, both in material and spiritual matters. Sai Baba as a Sadguru. There are different types of gurus on earth. There are many so-called gurus who go about from the house to house with musical instruments in their hands and make a show of their spirituality. They blow mantras into the ears of their disciples and extract money from them. They profess to teach piety and religion to their disciples, but are themselves impious and irreligious. Sai Baba never thought of making the least show of his worth. He had nobody consciousness, but he had great love for his disciples. There are two types of gurus: Niyat, appointed, and Aniyat, unappointed. The latter, by their advice, develop the good quality in us, purify our hearts, and set us on the path of salvation. But contact with the former dispels the sense of difference between us and the divine. There are various gurus imparting to us various kinds of worldly knowledge, but he who fixes us in our nature, that is ourself, and carries us beyond the ocean of worldly existence is the Sadguru. Sai Baba was such a Sadguru. His greatness is indescribable. If anybody went to receive his darshana, Baba, without being asked, would give every detail of the seeker's past, present, and future life. He saw divinity in all beings. Friends and foes were alike to him. Disinterested and equally balanced, he obliged evildoers. He was the same in prosperity and adversity. Doubts never affected him. Though he possessed a human body, he was not in the least attached to his body or house. Though he looked embodied, he was really disembodied. Blessed are the people of Shirdi who worship Sai as their god while eating, drinking, walking in their backyards and fields and doing various household chores. They always remembered Sai and sang his glory. They knew no other god except Sai. How can one describe the love and sweetness of the women of Shirdi? They were quite ignorant, but their pure love inspired them to compose poems or songs in the simple rural language. Letters or learning they had none, yet one can still discern real poetry in the simple songs. It is not intelligence but love that inspires real poetry. Real poetry is the manifestation of true love, and this can be seen and appreciated by intelligent listeners. A collection of these folk songs is desirable, and Baba willing, some fortunate devotee may undertake the task of collecting and publishing these folk songs either in the Sai Leela magazine or separately as a book. Baba's humility. The Lord is said to have six qualities: fame, wealth, non attachment, knowledge, grandeur, and generosity. Baba had all this in him. He incarnated in the flesh for the sake of his devotees. Wonderful was his grace and kindness. He drew his devotees to him from far. For the sake of his devotees, Baba spoke such words that for the goodness of speech one dare not utter. He is the specimen. Baba spoke the following humble words: Slave of slaves, I am your debtor. I am satisfied at your darshan. It is a great favor that I saw your feet. I am an insect in your excreta. I consider myself blessed thereby. What humility is this? If anybody thinks that by publishing this, any disrespect is shown to Sai, we beg his pardon, and to atone for this, we sing and chant Baba's name. Though Baba seemed outwardly to enjoy sense objects, he had no taste for them or even the consciousness of enjoying them. Though he ate, he had no sense of taste, and though he saw, he never felt any interest in what he saw regarding passion. He was as perfect a celibate as Hanuman. He was not attached to anything. He was pure consciousness, the resting place of desire, anger, and other feelings. In short, he was disinterested, free, and perfect. A striking instance may be cited in illustration of the statement. Nanavalli. There was in Shirdi a very quaint and queer fellow named Nanavalli. He used to look after some of Baba's cows. He once approached Baba, who was seated, and asked him to get up as he wanted to occupy the seat. Baba at once got up and left the seat, which Nanavalli occupied. After sitting there a while, Nanavalli got up and asked Baba to take his seat. Then Baba sat on the seat and Nanavalli fell at his feet and went away. Baba did not show the slightest displeasure in being dictated to and ousted. Nanavalli loved Baba so much that he breathed his last on the 13th day of Baba's Mahasamadhi. The easiest path, hearing the stories of the saints and being in their company. Though Sai Baba acted like an ordinary man, his action showed extraordinary intelligence and skill. Whatever he did was done for the good of his devotees. He never prescribed any yogic postures, regulations of breathing, or any rites to his devotees, and nor did he blow any mantra into their ears. He told them to forget all cleverness and always remember the word Sai, Sai. If you do that, he said, all your shackles will be removed and you will be free. Sitting between 5 fire sacrifices, chanting, and eightfold yoga are only for some people. They are of no use to the others. The function of the mind is to think. It cannot remain for a minute without thinking. If you give it a sense object, it will think about it. If you give it to a guru, it will think about the guru. You have heard attentively the greatness and grandeur of Sai. This is the natural remembrance, worship, and kirtan of Sai. Hearing the stories of the saints is not as difficult as the other sadhanas mentioned above. They dispel all fear of the samsara's worldly existence, and take you on a spiritual path. So, listen to the stories, meditate on them, and assimilate them. You may do or attend to your worldly duties, but give your mind to Sai and his stories, and then he is sure to bless you. This is the easiest path, but why doesn't everyone take it too? The reason is that without God's grace, we do not get the desire to listen to the stories of saints. With God's grace, everything is smooth and easy. Hearing the stories of the saints is, in a way, keeping their company. The importance of the company of saints is great. It removes our body consciousness and egoism, destroys completely the chain of our birth and death, cuts asunder all the knots of the heart, and takes us to God, whose pure consciousness. It increases a detachment from sense objects, makes us quite different to pleasures and pains, and leads us on the spiritual path. If you know no other sadhana, such as saying God's name, worship, or devotion, but if you take refuge in saints wholeheartedly, they will carry you safely across the ocean of worldly existence. It is for this reason the saints manifest themselves in the world. Even sacred rivers such as the Ganges, Godavari, Krishna, and Kaveri, which wash away the sins of the world, desires that saints should come to them for a bath and purify them. This is the grandeur of the saints. It is on account of a store of merits in past birth that we have attained the feet of Sai Baba. We conclude this chapter with meditation on Sai's form. The handsome Sai stands on the edge of the masjid and distributes udi to each and every devotee, which deeply engrossed in his devotees' welfare. Baba knew the world was an illusion and was always engrossed in supreme bliss. Before him we humbly prostrate ourselves. Om Sairam. End of chapter 10.